никто. Я единственный в огне, кто читает свои сны. Поклоняюсь темноте.
It was stupid and immature. I'll be the first to admit that, but it's not like I killed anyone, and if you want to try and understand things from my perspective, there was really no way that I could not do it. First, because his name was Mr. Hillrow. Second, because he acted like a dick, always calling you on the day you didn't do the reading, and then dragging out that torture in front of the whole class. Third, he sort of looked like a dick, with his ring of puffy hair surrounding the bald top of his head. It was like I had to do it. I got Billy's older brother, a previous student of Mr. Hillrow, to get me the dildo. Then, before class started, I stood it up on Mr. Hillrow's desk. I taped a pair of tiny glasses to the head, wrapped a tiny necktie around the shaft, and popped up little name tag that read, Mr. Dildo. At first, everyone laughed. Then Mr. Hillrow got pissed, and started yelling in a scary way, demanding to know who had done it. The class got real quiet. Nobody ratted me out. I gave myself away. I took another look at Mr. Dildo and started cracking up again. So that's how I ended up in detention. But it was only supposed to be for 3 afternoons. Not 3 years. The school is different at night. It didn't take long at all for me to find that out. The first afternoon of my detention went about like you would expect. I had to sit there and read Moby Dick. It took everything I had not to make another dick joke, because Mr. Hillrow was sitting at his desk, just angrily glaring at me the whole time. At 4 o'clock in the nose, Mr. Hillrow stood up. I grabbed my backpack, ready to get the hell out of there. "Your actions are unspeakably vulgar," said Mr. Hillrow. I thought about Mr. Dildo again and almost died from the effort of not cracking up. Mr. Hillrow went on, "You will stay here through the night, and reflect upon the proper manner in which to conduct yourself while enrolled in this educational institution." Then he flicked off the light switch and left the room. That threw me for a loop, but I shrugged it off, stood up, and went to get out of there. The door was locked. The fuck? "Okay, Mr. Hillrow," I shouted through the door. I looked through the little window at the top and saw the back of his bald mushroom head as he walked down the hall. "You got me. Gotta hand it to you, that's a good one. I've definitely learned my lesson." Mr. Hillrow disappeared around the corner. I stood staring out of that little window for about 15 minutes, before it started to dawn on me that the bastard really meant to keep me locked in that room all night. I wasn't even mad at him. He got me. When I pulled out my phone to call my parents, it wasn't to rat him out. It was because I had no intention of staying in that damn room all night. No reception. I hadn't told my parents about detention, but knowing them, I figured they'd put the pieces together soon enough. They'd start calling my friends who did know about detention. I just hoped my friends wouldn't feel like they were ratting me out by telling my parents where I was. I walked over to the exterior window and held my phone up to it. Still, no reception. I tried to open the window, but it was jammed shut. I looked down to the parking lot below. People were leaving for the day. I thought about breaking the window and jumping for it, but I was on the 2nd floor and it was too far down onto the pavement. Plus, I knew I'd get in a bunch of shit for breaking school property. I then tried to flick on the light switch, but the light didn't come on. Then, for the next hour, I did something that I'll never forgive myself for. I burned through my phone's battery playing some dumbass game. I don't even remember what. As my phone died, I looked up and noticed that the room was dark. The light coming through the window was getting dimmer and dimmer. It started to feel really eerie. I banged on the door for a while, trying to get someone's attention. No one came. As the last bit of light faded away, I took one last look outside, through the window. The parking lot was now empty. Now the room was very dark. I started to panic. I did not want to spend the night in that room, but it was looking like I didn't have a choice. After a bit of mindless pacing, I heard a click, and the door to the classroom slowly swung open to the hallway, seemingly of its own accord. "Hello?" I asked into the darkness. "Mr. Hilrow? Look, I've learned my lesson. Really, I have. I am truly sorry for setting up that dildo on your desk." It was dead quiet, and I didn't see anybody there. That creeped me out, but I was happy to get out of the room at least. I walked down the hall, which was now lit up by a few dim lights up at the top of the wall. I knew where I was headed first, the bathroom. I had to piss for like an hour, and it was killing me. I thought about whipping it out and going all over Mr. Hilrow's desk, but figured that would only get me in more trouble. I was walking past a long row of lockers when I heard it. It started as a slight rattle, coming from one of the lockers. I tried to play it off as just the building settling or something, but then another locker door started to rattle. Then another and another, and soon the whole row was rattling. When I heard a scraping sound, like something sharp being dragged against the middle of the locker doors, followed by what sounded like a low growl, that's when my urge to piss was suddenly relieved, right down my leg. It's also when I started running like hell. As I ran down the hall, the rattling turned into banging. Now I could see the locker doors shaking, straining against the hinges and latches. Whatever terrible thing were inside were on the verge of breaking free. All at once, the horrible sounds coming from the lockers stopped, just as I came to the end of the hall. I didn't slow down though. I booked it down the stairs and only felt the slightest bit of relief when I saw the entrance to, and more importantly, the exit from, the school in front of me. I ran full speed towards the door, putting my hand in front of me to push it open. Thunk! My wrist twisted painfully as it impacted the unmoving door. Of course it's locked, you idiot. It's night. I tried to find a deadbolt latch or something, but there wasn't one. Just a keyhole. Why the hell do all these doors lock from the outside? I wondered as I slumped down to the ground in pain, fear, and what was beginning to look like utter defeat. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. Now that I was by the front entrance, I might get reception if I hadn't been a goddamn idiot and used up the battery. I held the power button for a full 5 minutes straight before I gave up and put the useless thing back in my pocket. I felt like crying. It was bad enough just being locked in there. Being locked in there with a bunch of locker monsters, and who knows what else was much, much worse. I decided to stick by the front entrance and wait it out. I sat there in my pissy pants for hours. I would start to get bored and even a little sleepy, and then I'd hear a noise from somewhere in the school, and I'd jolt into full alertness. Sometimes it was a soft rustling sound that I wasn't quite sure I was actually hearing, and sometimes it was a loud, unmistakable bang. Once I was sure that I heard someone laughing. Finally, it got to the point where I couldn't ignore how hungry I was. The cafeteria was right by the entrance, so I figured I could risk it. I didn't have any money for the vending machine, but I thought I might be able to get into the kitchen and scrounge up some food. I'd always wondered what the hell went on in there anyway. I turned the corner and was surprised to see that the cafeteria was brightly lit. I could smell something delicious wafting out from there. I took a cautious step in and was shocked to see Miss Hadley, aka the lunch lady, standing there behind the counter in her hairnet. "Young man," she said when she saw me, "you're just in time." "Miss Hadley, what are you doing here?" I asked. "It's the middle of the night." The lunch lady laughed. "Oh, sometimes when I can't sleep, I come down here and try out a new recipe. And tonight, oh boy, I've come up with something out of this world. I think the children will love it." Something clicked in my addled mind. "So, you have a key?" I asked. "You can let me out of here." "Of course I have a key, silly, but before you go, won't you try my newest dish? You look hungry." She was right about that. I mean, I was ready to get the hell out of there, but at least now I knew that I could get out of there. I didn't see the harm in chowing down first, especially since it smelled so good. I grabbed a tray and held it out to her. Behind the counter, she scooped some mashed potatoes onto a plate and then a cut of a juicy steak on there too. She put the plate on my tray. "Thanks," I said. "Let me know what you think," she said, smiling. I sat down and dug into the mashed potatoes. Damn, they were good. Just the right balance between fluffy and creamy, and a hint of garlic to top it off. Then I cut off a chunk of steak and put it in my mouth. It was wonderful, but it didn't taste like any steak I'd ever had before. I said, "This is great. What is it?" "Meat," said the lunch lady. Yeah, I figure what I meant was, what kind of? A scream coming from back in the kitchen cut me off. Miss Hadley, can I go now?" "You don't like your meat, young man?" asked Miss Hadley, frowning. "Oh no, it's great. It's just my parents are probably worried sick about me. I've been stuck here all night. Mr. Hilrow locked me in." Another scream. "What's that screaming?" I asked. "Oh, that'll be Lily, my assistant," said Miss Hadley. "She's forever burning herself, or if not that, it's a slip of the knife. Clumsy girl, but has a great instinct for cooking." "Miss Hadley, can I please go?" "Very well, young man. I'll see you to the door." Just what I wanted to hear. A way out of the nightmare. When I got home, I'd hug my parents. Then get in bed, where it was nice and safe and there were no weird sounds, or locker monsters, or mystery meats. When we turned the corner and the entrance came into view, my heart first sank and then started beating like crazy. Standing in front of the door with his arms crossed was the janitor. Except he didn't look like he looked during the day. During the day, he didn't have a bunch of spikes coming out of his head, for starters, and he also didn't have empty white holes where his eyes should be. He didn't have long claws during the day either. At least none that I had ever noticed. "Let the boy pass, Bob," said Miss Hadley. When Bob the janitor spoke, the sound didn't come out of his mouth. I was standing there facing him, and I heard his voice whispering behind me. "Afraid I can't do that, Miss Hadley. The boy shall not pass. Direct orders from you-know-who." Everything started to spin, and I felt woozy. "Come on, dude," I groaned. "I gotta get home. I'm sorry about the dildo. If that's what this is about, I'll never do anything like that again. I promise." I looked past the janitor monster and saw that it was starting to get let out. Even if I didn't make it out right then, it would only be a few more hours until school opened. Then I heard a hiss and looked up in horror to see some kind of gas coming out of the air vents in the ceiling. Then I was out cold. So much crazy shit has gone down in this crazy ass school building over the past 3 years. If I ever make it out of here, I'll tell the full story. But dawn is approaching, and I don't have much time left. I'll give you the basics. Every day around dawn, the gas pours in through the vents and knocks me out. There's no way to stop it. I've tried. Next, I wake up in a dark room, which is actually a sort of sub-basement dug into the basement floor and covered with a hidden hatch door during the day. At night, the hatch opens and I'm free to wander the halls of the school if I choose. I never want to, but I have needs. I need to eat and use the bathroom. I need to shower in the locker room. I need to wash my clothes. I need to try to find a way out of this nightmare, even as if it looks more and more like there is no way out. Plus, as bad as it is out in the school, it's miserable in my dark little hole too. If I stay there too long, I start to lose it. I have some theories about what's going on, but I won't get into them. A bit of light is coming in through the windows now. It's almost time for my lights to go out for the day. I'm at the computer lab now. I have very limited access to the internet, and it seems pretty random what sites I can and can't visit. I can't read any news, so I don't even know if anyone's out looking for me, or if my entire existence has been forgotten since I got trapped in this hell. Lately, I've come across this forum. This is, for some reason, the only subreddit and I can read. I don't even know if I can post, but it's worth a shot. You guys seem like you've dealt with a lot of weird shit, so maybe you'll take this seriously. Please help me. My name is Emmett Emerson. I am at CAHS in Claremont, Maine, USA. During the day, I am in the sub-basement if you can find it. During the night, if you can somehow get in and make it past the janitor, I am usually somewhere running away from monsters.